What is up, basketball fans? Welcome to the NBA Outlet. I'm your host, Nick Fay. With me, as always, Kory Waldron. Kory, how are we doing on this Sunday?
Sunday fun day. With the NBA Outlet is back into our regular scheduling of recording podcasts, and we're here back on Sunday.
Yeah, it feels like we haven't done a regular Sunday pod in a while because we had the trade deadline, then I was on vacation, and then whatever it is. But we'll get back to our studs and duds, games of the weeks, got a couple topics too. And as always, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, OTGBasketball.com, and YouTube. But let's start with studs of the week. Let's start with the East, Kory. Who are you rolling with?
My stud of the week in the East is Jason Tatum. Despite the fact that the Boston Celtics lost an overtime thriller last night to the Houston Rockets, Jason Tatum has been an absolute stud. He's in this, since realistically since the passing of Kobe, unfortunately. But this has really been when Jason Tatum has taken off again this week. 36 points against the Blazers, 33 points against the Jazz, and then 32 points against the Rockets in a loss last night. Last night wasn't the greatest shooting performance by Tatum, but again, he's been on an absolute tear, and for me, he was my Eastern Conference stud. With an honorable mention to Miles Turner, who the Pacers on a 3-game winning streak. Miles Turner had two big-time threes in each of the past 2 wins to really seal the wins, and that's been really good for a guy like Turner who's caught a lot of shit, if you will, this year so far.
Yeah, I feel like it's a real morale booster for Turner, and then also making him feel more involved with the team. And just talking about Tatum, like you mentioned, averaged over 35 points a game this week, shot over 53% from the field and over 52% from 3. The efficiency is crazy, and we're watching Jason Tatum kind of continue to rise in stardom. And I think, by the time the postseason's over, we'll probably be having a conversation. Is this guy a top 10, top 15 player in the NBA? But I'm going to roll with Bradley Beal here. My man dropped 50 points twice and lost, and he was able to get a win against my team, which sucked. But he averaged 45 points a game this week, 53% from the field, 47% from 3. Just a monster week, and he really has tried to will the Wizards to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised. I didn't forget about Bradley Beal by any means, but it's tragic that Bradley Beal puts up these really nice numbers, these really big stat lines, and it just doesn't help this Wizards team win because the roster just isn't very good. But Bradley Beal has been a man on a mission as of late.
He's auditioning for his new teams. Maybe that'll be in Brooklyn. Yeah. We'll talk about that over the summer, though. Start of the week for the Western Conference, and I'm pretty sure we'll have the same guy here.
Are we both going with Russell Westbrook?
Yes, we are.
Yes. Russell Westbrook has really flipped the script. I mean, this was a guy who we were giving a ton of shit to early on in the season. And since they've gone to this small ball focused lineup out in Houston, we're seeing just the best version of Russell Westbrook. I mean, the amount of space that he has on the floor to operate, a big 41-point game last night again against the Boston Celtics, had a huge putback dunk late. He's had 20-plus points or more in 30 straight games. Russell Westbrook has gotten better and better as this season has gone on, and he's definitely been my stud so far. He's been my stud this week for the Western Conference.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a stud on the new-look Rockets, the small ball Rockets, and I think this is something a lot of people advocated for, including ourselves in OKC, to surround him with shooters and give him that spacing, and he's never really had that. And I'd argue this is probably the best position he's been in for his skill set, where he's allowed to excel and have the space to operate inside, because he's still a problem to defend one-on-one. And if he has room in the paint, he can finish pretty much over anybody. Like you mentioned, he averaged 37 points a game this week, shot over 60% from the field, shot over 50% from 3, only 2 attempts a game, but that's what you want to see from Westbrook. You don't want to see him forcing that jump shot. You want to see him attacking inside. And a lot of credit to the Rockets and trying something new and getting the best out of their players.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's unorthodox. It's caught a lot of media attention because it's unorthodox, but it's just working, plain and simple.
Yeah, a lot of credit to Daryl Morey and the Rockets team and all the parts and guys willing to buy in on this new system. And we'll talk about Houston a little bit later. But, Kory, who do you got for your dud of the week?
My dud of the week, and maybe it's just because I saw him in just bad situations, but I went with Spencer Dinwiddie. And he hasn't been
I'm just kidding.
He hasn't been overly bad. If you look at the numbers, shot over 50% against the Wizards. I mean, shot only 37% against the Hawks in that massive blowout loss you guys suffered. And then last night, he had that really bad turnover late against Miami. I don't know what happened. He kind of stalled. I don't know. I really don't know
I
what
think
was
it just slipped. I think the ball slipped out of his hand.
just one of those things that happens. But the Nets had an opportunity to win, 3 games this week, all by less than 5 points. They lost, and not that Spencer played, bad by any means, but he's one of the leaders of this team, one of the most important players, and you really need him to step up in those clutch time moments. And he just, came up a little bit short, I think, this week. So he was my dud.
Yeah, I mean, the Nets over like the last 2 weeks really have lost a lot of close games, and they're missing a guy like Kyrie Irving, and hopefully Spencer could step up in that role. It's almost like he's been caught in between of, hey, should I be the guy that takes the big shot or should I be the guy that passes it up? Because we've seen him in both roles, and neither has really worked out right now. His clutch numbers on the season are really bad. Before last night's game, he was 2 of 24 on 3-point attempts in the clutch. And that's, games within, I believe, 5 points under 5 minutes left or something along those lines. So it's been a rough stretch. I mean, some of it's on him. I think the team's asking a lot of him. But my dud, I'm going to go with Andrew Wiggins. 13 points a game, 30% from the field, 8% from three. And I'm going with him because some people tried to portray the D'Angelo Russell trade as like Andrew Wiggins is close to being the same level of player as D'Angelo Russell. And I think it's pretty apparent that he's just not that guy and his contract is still bad.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're not seeing the full form of Wiggins yet because this team isn't healthy. So there is more of a presence on him. But you're right. Definitely not a good week. And the Warriors are. They made a gamble, right? This is a gamble move to go for Wiggins, and it necessarily doesn't look like it's going to be the greatest of all moves yet. But again, not to put too much of a final stamp on this team until we actually see, Curry, Clay, and everybody healthy. And it is worth noting that the Warriors decided to push out, Stephen Curry's return to the floor because it was supposed to be today.
Yeah. Yeah, we were supposed to get some Steph. But it's interesting, that whole situation and playing him and not playing him. And then with Klay Thompson, we're seeing him do pregame warm-ups. Just a interesting feel around the Warriors who can't gauge it. And like you said, the Wiggins thing is a risk, and there's still potential for it to work out. A full offseason with Golden State and maybe a summer training with Steph and Klay and even Draymond could turn Andrew Wiggins into a more competent player.
Yeah. And I had one more dud. I just want to throw it out there. This was for the West, and I had Devin Booker.
Ooh.
Wasn't a great week for Devin Booker. He did get the Suns in general did get a big win over Utah on the 24th to start off the week, which looked promising. Then they lost 3 straight. And Devin Booker this week had 12. What was that? 12. What's 12 and 4? That's 16. He had 20 turnovers this week.
Oof.
Shot 26% against the Clippers, 37% last night against the Warriors. Just not a great week for Devin Booker. And obviously the Suns' playoff hopes were still sort of alive. Not the greatest stretch since Kelly Oubre Jr. got hurt, too.
Yeah. I mean, the best part of Devin Booker's life was probably making an appearance in the new Drake video.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That's a pretty good, at least it kind of gives him some uplifting. But
Yeah.
talk away from studs and duds, talking about two guys that have pretty much been studs the entire season. There was a little bit of beef between James Harden and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis had some comments at All-Star Weekend, picking Kemba over Harden, saying, he wanted somebody on his team that would pass. They also had a game plan to try to attack Harden at the end of the All-Star game. Harden was able to kind of hold up. Now, Rachel Nichols this week asked Harden about it, and he kind of threw some shots back at Giannis. He didn't think it was too funny about the whole passing thing because he said he averaged more assists. And then he also had a shot at Giannis saying, I wish I was 7 foot and could just dunk the ball, but instead I actually have to play basketball and develop my skills or something along those lines. What were your thoughts when you saw this?
I mean, there's been, as that one, like, The Office scene, there's been 0 days since drama occurred, since the last drama event occurred in the NBA. This is a very petty league at times. We've lived for it. We thrive off of it. But this is another one of those kind of storylines of two guys who, for the last 3 years have been really connected, or at least the last 2 years have been really connected between the MVP race last season. Of course, they're two guys in the forefront of the MVP race again this year. I think there's a little bit of that, I think I'm better than you, plain and simple type of stuff going on. And then also you have that game last year where Antetokounmpo swings that ball and bounces it right off of James Harden's face. It's been an interesting relationship between the two. I know that old video popped up too, when Giannis was still, in his first couple of years and wasn't even who he was, and he was already jawing at James Harden on the Rockets. So, I just think it's one of those things that's been kind of a boiling. Each guy wants to make it known that they think they're the better player, trying to cement their own case of why they are the better player. The games are vastly different. I mean, some of what Harden said is not totally far off, but again, as we know from Giannis Antetokounmpo, he has far more to his game, especially this season, than just being a 7-foot guy who can dunk. To say he's anything, but to say that's all he is bad. But it's no different than Antetokounmpo saying that all Harden does is dribble.
Yeah. I mean, there's just shots at each other. And like you
Yeah.
said, when you're competing for an MVP award, and obviously both guys had historical seasons last year, whoever lost was going to be salty about it. Like, there's no way you put in so much work all season long, all off season, even your entire life, and you lose. And then, like, just the opportunity of someone taking a small shot at you, you're like, okay, I'm a bounce back. And then Giannis, I think, responded to it yesterday saying pretty much he didn't really care and that he can think however he wants to think, that he's kind of focused on himself. So he kind of turned the beef down a little bit, but still, it'd be fun if we saw these two in the finals and they'd have to go at it. I mean, it's pretty unlikely, but it's still a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, and I also think it's also kind of comical. I want to just say this, just 'cause I don't want to lose the train of thought. Everyone since the comment Harden has made has been laughing and mimicking the fact of, oh, Giannis has no skills. Like, every time we see a highlight of Giannis the last couple of days, we're getting the, like the SpongeBob meme where he's saying, oh, yeah, I only can dribble. Well, why is there not the same sort of support going for Harden? Because clearly Harden does way more than just dribble, especially like as of the last, 15, 20 games. So it is also funny how there's just a cloud of negativity that surrounds James Harden. That's, it's somewhat worthy at times because he does get a little bit dribble happy. But it feels like just James Harden in general just gets a lot of shade that's a little bit unwarranted.
Yeah, I think there was I want to say there might have been a quote from that Rachel Nichols interview, and it's something about like people don't appreciate different until it's, done with, or they won't appreciate it until it's gone. And that kind of feels like it's going to be the case for James Harden, where his style of play can be hard to watch. What he does in the court can be annoying at times. But I think when it's all said and done, people look back and be like, yeah, that dude was a baller. He's one of the best shooting guards of all time. But I think in the moment, just with so much of a narrative driven media right now, that it's just like some of that's just rubbing off on Harden. And it doesn't help that he hasn't had the success in terms of winning championships. And I think when you win championships, it locks you into your position in the NBA. And I think it's easier for people not to give Harden the respect because he hasn't proven it at the highest level yet.
I mean, the best person to try to draw a comparison to going off that statement you just made is like LeBron James, right?
Yeah, even KD.
Or even KD. Even though KD's is slightly different because there's still like his championship win didn't quiet all the noise because of the way he went about it. And so did LeBron. But like you said, though, still, you win that first title, the noise definitely gets quieter.
Yeah, especially if you have a successful run in the finals.
Right, like when you're the key component of that title win.
Yeah, and it even felt like for LeBron, like all the Miami ones, people didn't necessarily give him the respect when he finally got that one in Cleveland, though. Yeah. You really had nothing to say. There was really no talk. And even you'd hear the little bit of the haters say, oh, well, if Kyrie wasn't there, well, LeBron still dominated that series. So
and they were still down 3-1.
Exactly. So hopefully KD can do that in Brooklyn next season, but we'll save that for another day. Moving on to buy or sell, I'm going to drop some topics on you, and you're going to tell me if you're buying it or selling it. Simple. All right. The Sixers need to make a splash move this summer. And by a splash move, they need to trade one of their core players, one of their all-star level players, being Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and maybe Al Horford I'll throw in there.
Okay, if you're putting Al Horford in, I'm buying.
Yeah. How about no Al Horford?
No Al Horford.
Including Tobias, because I think he's still an all-star level player.
No, I think he is too. I mean, he had 34 points the other night in a must-win type of game for them. I'm still going to say buy. I mean, obviously, we don't know how this playoff race or run's going to end for this 76ers team because that could change everything, right? If this Sixers team starts actually getting their shit together. But it feels like this team needs to make a move of some sort because whether or not you want to keep going forward with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid together, the roster still doesn't complement those two guys to the best of their abilities. We had that article come out this week or last week about Glenn Robinson even saying, like, I came into Philly and I still have no idea what the hell my role is. Like, no one told me what I'm supposed to do and try to do to help this team win. So I'm just going out there and playing as hard as I can. Like that, like those kind of comments. You also had the Jimmy Butler comment saying, well, I didn't leave because of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I talked to those guys. I love those guys. So it almost feels like between that and the Glenn Robinson comment that, maybe there is a coaching issue in Brett Brown, right? We've kind of been around this before, especially last year in the playoffs, and maybe he's just not the greatest of head coaches. Like, maybe he's been a good head coach to get them to the position they're in, but similar to like a Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr situation where maybe you need to get that coach out, get another coach in to take that next step forward. But it feels like, that there's some sort of move that has to get made. I'm not ready to say you got to break up Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. But I don't think this roster just fully helps those guys reach their absolute potential.
Yeah, and just quick shout out to Cam. He wrote a nice article earlier in the week. The mythology of the process is on life support. So pretty much saying that, like, is this actually going to work or is it going to kind of falter? And like you mentioned, I think Brett Brown deserves some of the blame for this. And I also think Elton Brand deserves some of the blame. And I feel like he's almost been getting a free pass where people haven't really talked about him, but the construction of the roster is really bad, and they cashed out last season with a lot of their assets, getting the Jimmy Butler trade, and even that fit was questionable at best with Butler there not being a pure floor spacer. So I think I'm buying it as well. But next up, go ahead.
It's funny. I don't know if you've seen the I haven't seen that movie Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler.
I have.
You have seen it? Okay. Yeah. Well, there's that one clip I keep seeing, and it's when Adam Sandler goes, doesn't it make you just want to step on Elton Brand's effing throat? And every time I see that, I mean, that's like got to be starting to be the mentality when you look at Elton Brand is maybe this guy did make some bad decisions with the money he threw out to guys like Tobias Harris and Al Horford.
Yeah, I mean, you trade all the assets for Jimmy Butler, and then you don't re-sign him. Obviously, you got Richardson back in the process, but there's more than one questionable move so far for the Sixers.
I just want to say too, sorry, not the weird.
No, you keep dropping it. I know you got a lot to say about Philly. I didn't know.
But Josh Richardson too, looking in hindsight, just hasn't been great this year, or at least hasn't really fit into the role that they want him to be. Again, they brought him in hopes of him being the 3-point shooter he was in Miami, shooting 35% on 6 attempts, and he's only shooting 32% on 4 attempts this year. So the fact that Josh Richardson has also highly regressed in the shooting aspect doesn't bode well either.
Yeah, I think they just need an elite floor spacer, and I mean, they just haven't had one. They let JJ Redick go, and I think that really hurt them in terms of spacing and not even getting, somewhere to kind of fill in half of the role that JJ Redick was in. They just haven't done it. But moving on from Philly, another one. The small ball Rockets have a chance to make the finals. It doesn't have to be a high chance. We're just talking about, is there a scenario where you could see them getting in there?
Yeah, I guess I'm buying. They're arguably the best team in the Western Conference right now. Or at least they're the hottest. Maybe not the best team. Excuse me. They're the hottest team in the Western Conference right now. I think that's fair to say. The Lakers, I think they've been good, but they had a tough loss against Memphis. The Clippers, they're trying to get healthy, trying to figure out their own stuff. I think the Rockets are, the hottest team right now in the Western Conference.
Longest win streak in the NBA at the moment, right, with 6.
They recently got Jeff Green and
DeMarre
Carroll off the buyout market. I don't think DeMarre Carroll is going to be a huge impact, but Jeff Green looks like he's going to make an impact. Robert Covington, I think it was a good get. Yeah, I'm buying it. I think they have an outside chance. I don't think it's a great chance, but you look at how last year kind of broke for the Portland Trailblazers and how they got to the Western Conference Finals. Maybe if the seeding works out, Houston somehow gets a favorable spot in the playoff bracket and ends up getting an easier ride to the Western Conference and somehow get over the hump to get into the finals. I don't think it's out of the train of possibilities with how Westbrook and Harden have played so far in this small ball system they're running right now.
Yeah, I'm buying too. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. I think you look at it and they're not favorites by any means, but could you see them having a wacky postseason run where people really don't know how to react to playing against 5 small players out there? I think it could be weird and cause some problems for a team, especially if someone doesn't have the experience dealing with them or they can't quite match up with them. And like we talked about earlier, Russell Westbrook is maybe playing the best basketball of his career right now, and then you have James Harden, and it's just going to be so much different defending them in the postseason. But another finals question: the Bucks are a lock for the finals.
Buy. There's no more stock left to buy. I bought it all. This is the best team in the Eastern Conference. I know they lost a game this week, I think, or did they almost lose a game this week? It
They're
doesn't
playing
really.
right now. It's kind of a close game, but I mean, I'm sure they're going to pull out and win.
And they're playing the Hornets right now. Yeah, you're right. They're playing the Hornets right now. I know that game was close from seeing the box score. But again, this is a team that's 51-8. They have the third best offensive rating, the best defensive rating, number one in pace. They score the most points. They average the seventh most points given up. This is just a damn good team. And also Chris Middleton's got a slight day-to-day injury. Is probably why the game's a little bit closer than it should be. This team I have no issues with. They're a deep, very talented roster. And if you have Middleton and Eric Bledsoe playing the way they're playing, that's when this team is at their absolute best.
Yeah, our guy Cody just wrote a great article on Chris Middleton, pretty much living up to his contract and having probably the best season of his career. And that could be a major difference going to the postseason if he maintains hot. So I'm buying it too.
Yeah.
And
50, 40, 90. That's a big deal for Chris Middleton.
It is. And I mean, it's kind of crazy. Malcolm Brogdon just did that for them too. Now it's like, okay, they have another player. I think, that's a benefit of playing with Giannis because he's getting so much attention. But also, you talked about the Bucks as a team. They're so deep. They just have that great chemistry. They're just such a great mojo with that team. And also they have another gear where you can't always say that about a ton of teams. You feel like at times where it's about to be a close game, all of a sudden Milwaukee will just turn it up. Next thing you know, it's a blowout.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, about Milwaukee. They can beat you in a lot of ways, right? They can
True.
hit the three ball. They're a very good team at getting to the free throw line. Not a great team at actually hitting their free throws. But, again, if you're getting to the free throw line a lot, it's going to help your chances of winning a ball game. And that defense, I mean, they're one of the better teams when it comes to switchability. And, again, teams are shooting a career low, or not a career low. Teams average the least amount of three-pointers attempted and made when playing against the Bucks.
Which is kind of interesting because of their defensive scheme is where what they're trying to do is lock down the paint. And with the rim protection they have, with Brook Lopez being the main rim protector, and then you have Giannis coming from the weak side, and then, you bring Robin Lopez off the bench. There's a lot of size and length on that team. Just makes it so hard to get inside, and the rotations are crispy. So they're really, contesting all those three-point shots. And your best bet really to beat the Bucks, it feels like, is if you get hot from three. And even that is just tough to do because you can't really make it happen because they do such a good job protecting the paint. And like you mentioned with the free throws, they get to the line so much, they're not giving up as many transition buckets, and they're able to set up their half-court defense. Now everything just got a lot harder.
Yeah, their on-ball defenders are just tough. I mean, I may say Wesley Matthews is an annoying player, but he's a positive defensive box minus player. So is Dante DiVincenzo, who's been really good for them offensively, but he makes more of an impact defensively for them, which I think a lot of people would be surprised about.
He is low-key surprising the first time you see him come off the bench, and you really see him just like get into a player and disrupt what they're trying to do.
Exactly. And obviously we know Eric Bledsoe is already a bulldog on that end. George Hill is obviously no slouch. Pat Connaughton's another positive plus defender for them. I mean, that's the thing, actually. There's only one negative defender on this Bucks team, and that's Frank Mason, who has only played in 4 games this year. So again, no one on this Bucks team is a negative on the defensive end of the ball, which is why they're the best defensive team in the NBA.
And when they do have the weaknesses, they do a great job of kind of covering up for each other in those areas. So it's just a team defense in general and understanding of the scheme. It just makes the Bucks so deadly. And it would take a really, really crazy performance for an Eastern Conference team to probably beat them in a 7-game series.
Just to throw it in there, too, I think Marvin Williams has been a sneaky good get for them so far, too.
And he said he's not even, like, ready. You know what I mean? He's not even, like, synced up yet.
Exactly. And he's been actually making the most impact on the defensive end for Milwaukee, which is even scarier because they brought him in with the intent of just kind of spacing the floor at a small ball 4. So the fact that he's making more impact defensively than he is offensively, which is more so his game, is also really promising for the Bucks.
I mean, you just give a coach like Coach Bud playable guys that with two-way ability, it just makes them that much harder to defend and beat in a series. But moving on from the Bucks, another statement: a healthy Clippers team is better than the Lakers.
I'm buying. Because I just think there's a better distribution of talent on the Clippers than there is on the Lakers. You know who the good guys are on the Lakers. It's Davis, LeBron, and then you really don't know who's going to be that third guy. I think there's, when you look at the Clippers, you know who the 1 and 2 guys are. It's Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And then the 3 guy, you have options for that 3 guy. You have options for the 4 guy. And I think the options for who the 3, 4, and 5th best player on the Clippers is really clear as day. Whereas you're looking at the Lakers, is it Kyle Kuzma? It doesn't look like it, especially after last night. It could be, a Kentavious Caldwell Pope. It could be a Dwight Howard, but I just think, again, if the Clippers get healthy, that team is a lot more deeper. Again, I'm not going to go against or rule out LeBron James, Anthony Davis, but I think when you look at on paper, the Clippers are a much more stable, strong team.
Yeah, I think I'm buying it too. I think the one thing watching the Lakers is just like they're still so dependent on LeBron. Like they just still feel like a different team when LeBron is on and off the court. I don't know if the stats back it up, but watching them against some of the better teams in the league, you can really sense the difference when he's not out there.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're one of the teams that's going to be talking to Dion Waiters. I don't, or maybe they already talked to Dion Waiters. But they need some sort of shooter or some sort of ball handler to get some help for that team because it's not Rondo, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And obviously missing out on Marcus Morris, missing out on Reggie Jackson doesn't hurt maybe as much as it may have. But actually, I think it hurts more in the sense of the fact that their rivals are the team that got him, right?
Yeah.
You're going to settle for Markieff Morris, who is a decent three-point shooter this year, but really isn't as near as good as his brother Marcus Morris on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I think the best thing Markieff is bringing them is just some toughness. We already saw him get into it with somebody. I think it was Dylan Brooks on Memphis, so he's providing value there. But I agree. I think they need that like little spark off the bench that can give them either creation or just instant scoring.
Yeah.
All right, another one. Golden State will be a contender next year.
Selling.
Ooh.
I don't think they're going to be contenders. I think Curry and Clay are going to be Curry and Clay. I think Draymond's just regressing, right? I just don't think Draymond is ever going to be the same player he once was for this Warriors team. I just don't think his game is aging well. Some people's prime I think comes a little bit earlier than some people's. I think we've already seen the best Draymond Green basketball, unfortunately. I could be wrong, of course. Then we talked about the Andrew Wiggins fit. He might not be the best fit for these guys. Then roster wise, how the rest of the roster is built, this team could be facing another issue if they just don't have a lot of depth outside of their starters. And I think because they don't have a ton of good defenders as is, I think the bench depth could be a real issue going forward. And also, even though I think Curry and Clay do get back, we do know that coming back from injury, there is, this gap of time where you're just not going to be in rhythm.
Especially for a torn ACL. I think Curry, it might be a little bit easier with a broken hand.
Right.
But the knee injury, it's just a lower body injury. You're just not the same guy until almost like a year after.
Right. So I think there's just going to be it's almost next year's going to be a growing year. Maybe we'll see them back in championship contention the year after, which may be like their last little mini window before everybody's too old. But I just don't see it next year unless something happens this offseason.
Yeah, I'm going selling, and I'll buy if they make a splash trade, which I think they do have the assets to do with this, especially depending on where this lottery pick ends up. Can they add another all-star, another guy who can, take some of the offensive load? And then I think that puts Draymond in a better position because we know what he's best at is kind of just doing the dirty work. And when he doesn't really have to do much offensively and he's not dependent on hugely, I think he can be successful. But again, like you said, he's kind of dropped back a little bit and you're asking him to be your third best player. I'm not sure if he can do that anymore on a championship team.
Yeah.
All right. LeBron James is still the best player in the NBA. This is a tough one.
I'm gonna sell.
It hurts you to say that, I could tell.
Yeah, I mean, like there's still like if it's a game 7, I'm still rolling with LeBron James, right? Like if it's do or die, I'm still rolling with LeBron James. But I think when you're looking at it from like a full calendar year, game by game, I don't think LeBron James is the best player. I mean, his numbers are good this year. Him more as a facilitator is definitely going to help him in the later part of his career. But he's had some pretty poor shooting nights, more frequent than I can remember. In years past, like we're starting to see some sort of decline in his offensive game. Now, I'm not saying he can't turn up. I'm still not saying he's not a top 10 player in the league or a top 5 player because he clearly is. But we have seen some regression in his offensive abilities. So I'm going to say I'm selling. I think that spot is between, Giannis Antetokounmpo. You can throw James Harden in there. You can throw Kawhi in there. I think those are really the guys I think of now, and I'm thinking of the best player in the league.
Yeah, I think that you laid it out perfectly. Where if it's still one game, you're like, okay, give me LeBron because I know that he'll leave it all on the court and die out there if he has to. But from an 82 game season or just a full stretch of time, I think there is some question and fatigue and age is kind of caught up to him a touch. It's obviously he's not washed LeBron or anything like that, but he can't do the same thing he did for the last 10 years and on a night to night basis. And those other guys are continuing to ascend and think Giannis just continuing to play the way he does on both ends of the floor just makes him such a problem. And it's hard to argue that he's not better than LeBron. And then even Kawhi, when he's not injured and he's in it and he's in the postseason for the next couple months when it's, April, May, and June, it's like, Kawhi, might look better than LeBron.
Yeah, and like just looking at his shooting numbers, so he's shooting an effective field goal rate of 54.9%. This is his lowest effective field goal rate since his first year returning to Cleveland. And then before, this isn't a good shooting year. Like this is the lowest he's been shooting in the last 5 years since his return to Cleveland. Now, granted, people are going to be like, well, if he shot that bad that year in Cleveland, they still made the NBA Finals and he was still in his prime. Like, yeah, you're right. But it looks a lot different when your numbers slightly dip at the age of 30 than when your numbers after 4 years of being high dip all of a sudden at the age of 35.
Yeah, especially because the first, in Cleveland, it's just a change of situation, a change of
You had to
teammates,
play with Kyrie, Kevin Love for the first time. Like it was just a different scenario.
and they made a lot of trades mid-season that year.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll obviously keep an eye on LeBron. Last one. This is the best version of Russell Westbrook we've seen.
Buying. We kind of alluded to this before the season even started, and this is before we thought they were going to be running this small ball lineup. But we thought that the Houston Rockets would give the type of system that Russell Westbrook would flourish in. In OKC, Westbrook was never surrounded by shooters that could benefit off of him driving and doing, penetration kickouts. That he didn't have the weapons around, like Jeremy Grant and oh god,
I mean, they were just throwing everybody out there. Terrence Ferguson,
yeah.
It just was guys who weren't 3-point shooters. They could hit it like 1 of 3 in a game.
Exactly. And now Westbrook still is only a 25% 3-point shooter on the year, which isn't good by any means. But again, with his ability to get to the rim, I think he's averaging not a career best, but an NBA best 20.3 points per game in the paint, which is better than Giannis, which is better than LeBron, it's better than Dave. Anyone you can think of who scores a majority of their points in the paint, Russell Westbrook has more of them. He's averaging the most points per game since his MVP season with OKC. He's just been able to do a lot more. He's shooting the best field goal percentage at 47.3% of his entire career right now. Now, the 3-point shot isn't there, but again, he's getting to the rim with ease. He's still creating for others, still rebounding, creating turnovers. He's been damn good.
Yeah, I'll say this. I'm buying for the fact that this is the best situation he's been in. He might not be the best, most talented version of himself like we saw the MVP season because he was just kind of ridiculous carrying that team. But this situation has allowed him to get the best of his skills and play at such an efficient rate. Like you mentioned, that field goal percentage, I never thought I'd see a number that high for Russell Westbrook, after he left OKC.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. I mean, who would have thought that, arguably over the last month, we'd say that Russell Westbrook had been better than James Harden.
Yeah, and you'd never really would have thought that going to the season. We always kind of knew Westbrook was kind of declining, and even last time you and Jack did the top 50, he took a big drop, and now he just started to make his.
He's going to be back up. He may. And I was thinking about this the other day. When you think about the top, 5 point guards for this season in particular, Westbrook may have been a 5 or outside of that conversation. I think Westbrook, as of right now, is probably top 3 in that conversation. You can maybe make a case that he's been the best point guard at this season currently.
Yeah, I think I'd probably put Dame at number 1, and then I'd probably have Westbrook right there. Or a lot of guys are banged up. Kyrie's not playing. Steph's not playing.
Yeah, I mean that definitely helps his case. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean it still is what it is. He's on the court. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you got to give him the credit
for being healthy, right?
Exactly, and especially for a guy like him who's dealt with a lot of knee injuries. I know myself.
6 straight knee surgeries in the offseason Russell Westbrook has had. 6 straight years of knee surgery.
I thought he kind of lost a step earlier in the year because he just didn't look the same speed, and I saw him kind of get locked up by some guys that I just didn't think was right. But
yeah, and it goes right to what we were just saying, Nick, about the fact that when you have that surgery, right, it takes a little bit to get your knees back. The last month or so, he looks as athletic as I've seen him, any year prior.
Yeah, I mean that putback last night against Boston in overtime, like you still have the juice in your legs to throw that down. I remember just being like, "Oh shit!" Like I did not expect it. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch Westbrook when he's really successful because he is an electric player for the NBA. But that's my last buy or sell. Anything you want to throw at me?
Um, I can't think. Are you buying or selling the Orlando Magic's recent hot streak?
I mean, I think I'm buying them to probably get the 7th seed because I think as is with the Nets injuries, I think they're the more talented team. And I think Aaron Gordon has been like resurged after the dunk contest loss. So
The weirdest things motivate us, right?
it really is, but good for him because I mean he's had some really good performances. I think they're hitting stride right now. They had points in the season where they were really bad, and now they're starting to kind of get in rhythm. And is Jonathan Isaac going to return the season or no?
I think he was out indefinitely. I don't know if there's been an update on his timetable actually.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe it's just helping them kind of get some chemistry and in sync. And not that Isaac he was playing amazing, but there was definitely like a clog in terms of minutes at the 4 and the 5, and now like having more minutes for Gordon to kind of play his role, I think has maybe allowed them to excel a little bit.
Yeah,
Not saying that I think that Jonathan Isaac's a bad player. I just think that roster fit in Orlando is not great.
I would agree with you.
All right, Kory,
Oh,
we
wait,
got
okay, I got you. Actually, I had to look it up. He isn't expected to return this season due to a knee injury.
okay. I knew it was out indefinitely, but like when they say that sometimes it's like maybe.
Yeah, he is doing light shooting drills finally, but again, it doesn't look like there's any sort of timetable for his return.
I mean, it would be the smart move. He's so young, and he's
No
also like
surgery was needed though, and he doesn't need surgery. That's the one benefit.
he's a really lanky kid too. So you just want to let him build his strength back up, probably.
Yeah.
All right, games of the week.
Games of the week.
What are we rolling with on Monday night?
Monday night, March 2nd. Not a great line of basketball to start. The first 3 games are Jazz, Cavs, Rockets, Knicks, Blazers, Magic. I guess Blazers, Magic, they're the same team, which is ironic. I'm going to say Bucks, Heat, right?
Yeah.
These teams haven't played a lot against each other. I think the last time they played was, early on in the season where the second game of the season where Miami won. So I know a lot of Miami fans, whenever I talk to them, they think, well, we beat the Bucks. And I'm like, you guys beat the Bucks the second game of the year. It don't matter. It don't count. Like, that's a completely different team now. So I think that would be the main game to watch. And of course, I'm interested in the Pacers and Spurs.
Yeah, I think Bucks Heat is a good one. Obviously, the Heat are trying to prove that they can compete with the Bucks, and also the Heat kind of came post All-Star break a little bit slow. Even last night, they got the win against the Nets, but they almost blew it. So they need to kind of get things rolling, especially with some of these new pieces, and incorporate them into the mix.
Yeah.
Tuesday night.
Clippers Thunder.
That's a good one.
Thunder need a bounce back. They got blown out by the Milwaukee Bucks, which I don't think any of us really expected. Gallinari was hurt though, so obviously that's a big blow to their offense. But they got manhandled, so they're needing a bounce back performance. The Clippers obviously are getting healthy. They just need to keep the momentum against a team that's been very competitive in the West.
And they're not that far behind. They're not that far behind the Clippers.
4 games in the loss column.
Yeah, so I mean that does carry some value. I think that's definitely a game to watch. Philly and LA could be interesting, but probably the Philly guys are still going to be out.
Right. That was my thinking.
And I think there's still, like, even without Kyrie playing, there's still a little tension between Brooklyn and Boston. I think that'll be a good game on TNT. So I think Tuesday's definitely a lot better than Monday. But what do we got Wednesday?
Wednesday for me is the Bucks and Pacers. Pacers somehow. Oh, well, I know I can tell you why. Antetokounmpo didn't play the last time the Bucks and Pacers played. It's about how the Pacers won. But Central Division rivalry. Pacers trying to get back on track. They currently are on a 3-game winning streak. Could be on a 4-game winning streak going into this game. So I'm going with Pacers Bucks.
I'm going with Pelicans Mavericks, getting a little Luka versus Zion. Obviously, they're not going to match up, but there's going to be a lot of star power in that game, and we know New Orleans is trying to make a push for the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right, Thursday, what do we got?
You know what it is, Clippers Rockets. That's the showdown everybody wants to see. Rockets, obviously, as we've been talking on this show, the red hot. Clippers have been, finding their groove a little bit, getting healthy. This could be, perhaps a Western Conference Finals preview.
It could be, and I think this is really the only game of the night worth watching because Denver, Charlotte, not really that enticing. Philly, Sacramento maybe could have something, and then they have the finals rematch, but Golden State's missing all the key pieces, so Toronto, Golden State doesn't really carry any pop. I think pretty much everyone's going to be watching Clippers, Rockets, and ignoring the rest of the games, if I had to guess. Friday.
Friday, there's be on the TV, be near a tablet, watch Friday night basketball. There's 3 games. I don't even know which one I want to pinpoint. Jazz Celtics at 8. Last time those 2 teams played was the Donovan Mitchell versus Jason Tatum showdown. Both guys dropped 35 plus points. I think Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart went off late for the Celtics to get that win, but that should be a good game. Miami Heat, Pelicans on ESPN to start off the night too. Zion, Miami trying to get back on track. That should be a fun game. And then really the game of the night is the 10:30 Bucks-Lakers showdown.
Yeah, we got Giannis versus LeBron. That's what we kind of talked about. Is Giannis the best player in the NBA? Can LeBron still hold on to that title? Does Anthony Davis have something to say about it? He's had some tough performances, since All-Star break. Which game do you think is more enticing? Clippers versus Rockets or Bucks versus Lakers?
Bucks-Lakers, because Bucks-Lakers for sure will both be healthy.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think it's a more likely finals matchup. Obviously, the other one could only be Western Conference Finals.
Right, yeah.
Saturday, not too great, but what do you got?
Yes, Saturday's a week slate. Like it's a good Saturday night to go out. I think
I might do that.
I think honestly, which is kind of weird to say, I think the game of the night is Hawks Grizzlies, right? And have the young guys battle it out. Hawks have kind of been playing good basketball as of late. Grizzlies, as we know, beat the Lakers last night. They're playing good basketball, trying to hold on to that 8 seed. So I'm going to say Hawks Grizzlies.
Trey versus Ja, I think that's a fun matchup. The rest of it really just isn't that crazy. I'm sure one of the games will pop off and be like an amazing game that we just didn't anticipate, but on paper, that's the only one that's really worth circling.
Yeah.
Then I guess we could take a quick look at next Sunday.
You got to talk on Sunday because you got one really good game for sure.
Primetime ABC game.
Primetime ABC, Lakers Clippers, another LA showdown. That's the game of the day. Thunder Celtics should be good as well. I mentioned my Pacers playing that day. I know your Nets play as well. But I think that Lakers Clippers game is going to be what everybody's really watching because again, these are the 2 teams that have been buyout market. The way Kawhi kind of held out during the off season to get the kind of disrupt the Lakers free agency plans. So I think this is just another game to watch.
It is. There might not be the best week in terms of nights, but there's a couple games this week that are just must watch, especially with the playoffs around the corner where it's just like, okay, these are going to be serious matchups.
Yeah, we have 20 games left in this season. This is also, in my mind, the point, like the minute we hit post All-Star break, and you can say post All-Star break, for me, it's almost like right around now in March. The next month and a half, it's playoff atmosphere basketball.
Yeah.
Because teams want to solidify their playoff seeding, or teams, are either holding on or trying to fight for a playoff spot. Like almost every game of basketball, unless you're a tanking team, guys are bringing everything they got. This is the time to put it all out there.
Yeah, I think the most interesting team in terms of like big time playoff contenders is at what point do the Bucks get to when they're like, okay, maybe we should start to rest guys because they have a 9.5 game lead over Toronto. And like you mentioned, only 20 games left or 22 or whatever it may be. Like after 10 games, there almost becomes no value in them like trying that hard. You know what I mean? For the rest of the league, though, they're all still in competition. Even the Lakers only 5.5 up on the 2nd seed. It's just like, I think that's going to be an interesting storyline for the Bucks is like, how rested will they be going to the postseason, or do they pursue 70 wins?
I could tell you right now, just looking at the Bucks schedule, they end the season playing the Nets, Hawks, Cavs, Nets. That's their final 4 games. I'd be shocked if we saw a lot of them playing during that stretch. I feel like those are the games we're going to see the Bucks really rest because, again, before that they played the Sixers, Celtics, Raptors twice, Mavericks, Rockets. I think they want to play good teams. Like if they're playing a good team, I think they just want to stay fresh and probably want to play those guys. But when they're playing, some of those bad dumpster teams, not dumpster teams in the Nets, for example.
No, they've been playing like a dumpster team.
Yeah,
so.
Sorry. But, when they're playing those lesser teams, that might be the time you see them take games off. But I just don't see Giannis, the competitor he is, saying, yeah, I'll rest when we play a good team. Like, I think they're going to want to keep their floor on that pedal for majority of the season.
And I mean, the thing for the Bucks too is like if they rest Giannis or they rest Middleton or even Lopez, like they have other they don't, if they're not resting them all at the same time, they can still win all those games.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Obviously, we'll be back on Wednesday. Kory, always a pleasure. Big thanks for everybody for listening. Find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, OTGBasketball.com, and YouTube.
Peace out, Knuckleheads.